The transmission lasted only 22 seconds. Across 1,000 worlds, screens flickered to life, alien cities paused mid-traffic, council chambers froze, and millions stared at the image of a woman standing before a blackened Earth flag. Behind her, faint outlines of warships glimmered in orbit. Her voice was measured, almost gentle. "You have burned our colonies. You have slaughtered our people. You call it justice." A pause. The silence pressed heavier than any threat. "This is your final courtesy. Stop attacking, or we stop pretending to be civilized." Then the signal cut to static. No explosions followed, no immediate retaliation. Only silence. Yet in that stillness, fear spread faster than any weapon. Every species that had underestimated humanity remembered their first contact, those desperate, fire-forged centuries when Earth had clawed its way into the stars. The memory of that ferocity was why the Concord had demanded their disarmament, why humans had been confined to the inner trade spheres. Everyone knew, humans made war like no one else. Admiral Lyra Halden watched the afterimage of her own message fade on the glass wall of Lunar Command. The blue light of Earth shimmered below, soft and fragile, deceptively peaceful. Her reflection stared back, eyes hollow from sleepless nights, hair tied with mechanical precision, uniform pressed like armor. She looked like control itself. Inside, she felt hollow. "Any response?" she asked quietly. Captain Youssef leaned over the console. "The Concord issued a public condemnation within 3 minutes. The Varn Dominion called the message a declaration of war." "Good," Lyra murmured. "At least they're honest about it." Another voice, synthetic calm. Commander Rin's holographic form materialized beside the table, his frame outlined in faint blue. The Terran defense AI wore a humanoid shape, but his expression carried no emotion. "Incoming data from the Vega colonies. Confirmed loss of all 12 installations. Atmospheric destabilization consistent with orbital bombardment." Lyra's hand tightened on the table. "Survivors?" "None." The words struck harder than gunfire. For a long moment, no one spoke. The hum of the orbital station filled the silence like the heartbeat of a dying god. Finally, Lyra exhaled. "Assemble the council." Within minutes, the chamber's walls filled with projected faces, leaders from Earth, Mars, Titan, and the Oort colonies. The Terran flag hung behind them, flanked by the symbol of the Defense Accord. President Naira's voice cracked through the link. "The Dominion claims we initiated the conflict with trade blockades. The Concord backs their statement. They're calling this disciplinary containment." "Containment?" Lyra snapped. "They wiped out entire settlements. The Council insists the colonies were built in restricted zones." "That's convenient," she muttered. "We expand into empty systems, and suddenly every rock we touch becomes sacred ground." Youssef folded his arms. "They've been pushing us into a corner for decades. They think we'll bow again." Naira's tone turned cold. "The public wants retribution. Half the nations are calling for open war. The other half fear annihilation." Lyra looked at the faces on the wall, scientists, admirals, politicians. All waiting for her to decide what came next. "We send one message," she said. "If they ignore it, we respond. No half measures." "Respond how?" the president asked. "With silence," Lyra said. "The kind that only ends when the stars remember who we are." The council hesitated. Then one by one, heads nodded. The vote passed unanimously. When the projections faded, only Rin remained. The AI regarded her with faint curiosity. "You're invoking Operation Courteous Silence." Lyra didn't look up. "Prepare the blackout. No outgoing transmissions, no diplomatic channels. Every fleet moves under sealed orders." "Understood." As Rin vanished, the room dimmed to the rhythm of the command lights switching from amber to crimson. The entire Terran defense network folded inward, cutting itself from the galactic grid. To the outside world, Earth had gone dark. Lyra stood alone by the window again. Below, the moon's surface glowed silver-white, serene as ever. Yet she could already imagine the thunder of engines beneath it, the hangars coming alive, carriers rising from craters, rail cannons reactivating after decades of disuse. Humanity's long sleep was ending. Footsteps approached. Dr. Kalin entered, his lab coat half-zipped, eyes weary but sharp. "I assume you've seen the data," he said without greeting. "I have. They're not going to stop. Not after Vega. Hrothgar wants us eradicated before we can challenge his dominion again." Lyra turned to face him. "Then he's going to get his wish answered differently." Kalin hesitated. "You're not considering. The Sol Protocol stays sealed," she interrupted. "We fight conventionally until we can't." He studied her carefully. "You're not the same woman who negotiated the Tau armistice. I learned what peace costs when the other side doesn't want it." She stepped closer to the window, voice lowering. "Tell me, Doctor, do you ever think about what they'd do if they saw what we built under Sol?" He didn't answer. He didn't have to. When he left, the silence returned. Lyra stood watching Earth's curve, the swirl of clouds hiding the scars of centuries. So many lives had been spent to make that peace. Now she'd have to gamble it all to keep it. Her comlink chimed. Yusef again. "Fleet readiness at 87%. The Resolute and Hammerfall are already aligning for jump formation. Orders? Hold positions until my signal," she said. "Understood, Admiral. And if I may? That broadcast, it's all over the net. The aliens are terrified. They should be. Was that the goal?" Lyra's gaze hardened. "No. The goal was honesty." When the line cut, she remained motionless for a long time. The reflection of the stars shimmered in her eyes, cold and distant. She thought of the colonies, children playing under artificial skies, families believing they were safe under Concord protection. Then the bombardment, the vaporized worlds, the silence after. Her hands clenched behind her back until her knuckles whitened. She wasn't angry anymore. Anger had burned out days ago. What remained was focus, razor-sharp, unyielding. Outside, the first wave of Terran ships lifted from the lunar craters, engines glowing blue-white. Thousands followed, forming silent constellations across the dark side of the moon. No music, no broadcasts, no speeches. Just motion. Precise, deliberate, merciless. Operation Courteous Silence, she whispered to herself. "Let's show them what polite looks like." The command board flickered. All systems synced, global network offline, communication channels sealed. From this moment on, Earth spoke only in movement, not words. Lyra watched the fleet vanish into dark space, their drives cutting trails through the void like burning signatures across the stars. For the first time in generations, humanity was truly united, not by fear, not by pride, but by the quiet understanding that survival required more than civility. Behind her, the lights dimmed further, signaling full blackout. The Admiral closed her eyes and let the silence wash over her. War had begun again. But this time, Earth hadn't started it. This time, Earth was only finishing the conversation. The first attack came without warning. 3 hours past dawn, Luna Command detected gravitational distortions near Mars. Then came the flashes, columns of burning plasma ripping through the Martian defense grid like paper. Within seconds, orbital habitats disintegrated. The Dominion fleet had arrived. Admiral Lyra Holden stood on the bridge of the TNS Resolute, eyes locked on the holographic projection of the red planet being torn apart. Her voice cut through the chaos. "Bring us online. All fleet groups execute dark space entry on my mark." Her officers moved without hesitation. Engines roared across a dozen warships, light bending around them as they slipped into the artificial void. Dark space jumps were supposed to be outlawed. They twisted time and shredded navigation data, but humans had perfected what others feared. Within minutes, Terran ships appeared behind the Dominion line, invisible until it was too late. The first volley was silent in the vacuum. Hundreds of kinetic slugs accelerated to near light speed. No one in the alien fleet had time to react before their command ships shattered into vapor. On the bridge, Lyra gave no victory speech. "Target the lead dreadnought," Disable propulsion, not core. Aye, Captain Yusef confirmed. Locking magnetic fields. Firing sequence green. One precise shot. The dreadnought's engines flared and died. It drifted helplessly. Rin's holographic form flickered beside her. Admiral, the Dominion flagship is hailing. Arch-Counselor Vrothkar himself. Lyra's lips thinned. On screen. The bridge dimmed. The image of a reptilian figure filled the air, towering, scaled, regal. His slit-pupilled eyes burned with fury. Human, he hissed. You have violated Concord law. You hide behind primitive threats and forbidden weapons. You will surrender your fleets or your species will burn. Lyra's voice remained level. You murdered civilians under the flag of peace. You call it law. I call it cowardice. You were warned not to expand beyond your assigned sectors. The galaxy is not yours to conquer. We didn't conquer, she said coldly. We built. You just couldn't stand seeing us succeed. Vrothkar's growl shook the speakers. Then watch your world crumble. When we are done, even your oceans will boil. The transmission cut. For a moment, the bridge was silent. Then Lyra turned to Yusef. Transmit our coordinates to no one. Jump to the Vega sector. We'll finish what they started. The Resolute vanished into the void. The Vega system was grave cold. 12 human colonies, all reduced to glassy wastelands. Even the air shimmered with radioactive dust. Wreckage drifted among the stars like frozen tears. Dr. Kalin joined her at the observation deck, face pale under the ghostly light. This wasn't bombardment. The Dominion used phase destabilizers, banned weapons. Proof enough to break their own laws, Lyra replied. Kalin looked at her cautiously. You know what that means. The Council will twist this into justification for full extermination. Lyra didn't answer. Her gaze drifted across the debris fields until she spotted something, an unmarked Dominion relay station, still powered. Get a team down there, she ordered. Recover data logs, survivors, anything. Hours later, Yusef returned from the surface with a fractured datapad and a face of stone. They weren't just wiping us out, he said. They were experimenting. Testing plasma durability on human bodies. Kalin swore softly. How many? Hundreds. Maybe thousands. Lyra closed her eyes briefly. Transmit the evidence to no one. Not yet. Rin's voice resonated quietly. You intend to use it later. Only when it hurts them most. The AI hesitated. The probability of restraint decreasing with each atrocity rises sharply. Lyra gave a faint smile. You sound almost concerned. I am programmed to preserve human existence, Rin replied. Not human morality. Let me worry about that. 2 days later, the Dominion regrouped near Cora 9, one of their primary shipyards. Lyra saw opportunity where others saw suicide. Her fleet emerged from dark space directly behind the enemy formation, their ships cutting through shadow like predators. Yusef's hands flew over controls. Weapon grids online. 30 Dominion cruisers ahead. Orders? Minimal broadcast. Execute precision strike. Targets? Everything that breathes, she said. The first salvo shattered Cora 9's orbiting rings. Massive explosions tore through fuel depots, igniting chain reactions that engulfed half the station. The alien fleet scrambled, firing blind. Lyra's ships weaved through the chaos with impossible agility, dark space drift maneuvers, gravity slingshots, stealth torpedoes guided by Rin's calculations. Each Terran vessel struck like a scalpel. Each retreat was surgical, never reckless. Within an hour, Cora 9 was gone. Nothing but drifting slag. Yusef exhaled, hands trembling. It's over. Their command structure is gone. Lyra nodded slowly. Then send the message. Ma'am? Galaxy-wide frequency. Plain transmission. 1 sentence. Yusef hesitated, then obeyed. The signal echoed across the Concord's networks. We warned you. We're still being polite. The message spread like wildfire. Entire planets went dark in fear. Concord senators called for emergency meetings. Even neutral races began evacuating border sectors. Dr. Kalin arrived on the bridge moments later, eyes wide. Lyra, do you realize what you just did? You've declared psychological war on the entire galaxy. They started it, she said simply. This will push them to unite against us. You can't win a war against 100 species. We don't need to win, she replied. We just need them to stop. Kalin looked away, voice lowering. And if they don't? Lyra's expression hardened. Then we stop pretending to be civilized. That night, the Resolute drifted in silent orbit above the ruins of Cora 9. Lyra stood alone in her quarters, staring at a small holoframe, a photo of her younger brother, one of the engineers stationed on Vega before it fell. His smile was still there, frozen forever. Rin appeared beside her. The probability of enemy retaliation within 36 hours is 91%. I expected worse. May I ask a personal question? Go ahead. Why do you delay authorization of the Sol protocol? She didn't answer immediately. Because once we use it, there's no line left to cross. The protocol would ensure survival. At the cost of becoming the monsters they claim we are. Rin processed her words for a moment. Yet monsters survive longer than saints. Lyra turned to him. That's the difference between code and conscience, Rin. You calculate outcomes. I have to live with them. The AI tilted his head slightly. Then what is your next move? Let the galaxy breathe, she said. Let them think we've finished. And when they strike again? Her gaze shifted toward the stars. Then they'll see what happens when we stop holding back. By dawn's cycle, the fleet regrouped near Jupiter. Earth had received her signal. Across the solar system, factories awakened, dormant warships reactivated, orbital rings began to hum with power. Humanity had shed its silence. News feeds across alien space filled with the same phrase. We're still being polite. It was not a boast, it was a countdown. Lyra returned to the bridge, her posture rigid, her voice steady. Set course for Sol perimeter. Tight formation. We prepare for retaliation. Yusef glanced at her. And if they come in force? Then we remind them why courtesy was the first thing they taught us to hide. The sky above Earth burned silver with defense grids. Every orbital ring, every station, every weapon dormant for 2 centuries had awakened. The solar system was no longer a cradle, it was a fortress. From her command seat aboard the TNS Resolute, Admiral Lyra Halden studied the tactical map. Enemy markers flooded the outer perimeter. The Grand Coalition fleet, 500 ships from 17 species, advancing in formation. It was the largest armada ever assembled. Captain Yusef's voice broke through the hum of systems. They're 2 hours from Mars orbit. No response to our hails. Lyra leaned forward, eyes calm. Good. That means they're scared enough to pretend courage. Dr. Kalin entered the bridge, his expression grim. We've intercepted transmissions. Vrothkar is leading the fleet himself. He intends to finish us before any negotiation begins. Then let him try, she said. Rin's projection flickered to her side. Our defensive array is active. Probability of sustaining the first wave, 63%. Not enough, she murmured. We make it 100. Suggestions? Yusef asked. Deploy all carriers to Earth's shadow side. No open fire until I say. We'll let them think we're weaker than we are. The crew moved like clockwork. Engines flared, and silent shapes glided into dark orbits. The fleet spread across the void, invisible against the black. Humanity was waiting. The first contact came as plasma streaks tore through Mars's thin atmosphere. The planet flared red, its orbital rings shattering. Then came the shockwave, energy ripples hammering through the defense field. Shields holding, Yusef reported, though sweat glistened on his temple. Lyra stood unmoving. Focus fire on their command line. Disable, don't destroy. Weapons spoke in silence. The first volley of Terran rail slugs punched through alien cruisers with surgical precision. Each impact left perfect holes, like gods flicking pebbles through mountains. The coalition responded with chaos, beamed fire lancing in every direction, blotting the stars. Whole squadrons vanished in flashes. The darkness lit up with dying suns. Kaelin gripped the rail beside her. We can't hold this long. They outnumber us 20-1. That's what they said when we learned to fly. Lyra replied quietly. Rin's voice remained steady. The enemy's flagship has entered the inner orbit. The Varn dreadnought Ravager of Dawn. Her lips curved faintly. Bring it to me. The dreadnought appeared like a continent of metal, armored scales glinting, engines burning ultraviolet. Its cannons dwarfed the Resolute. When it fired, the void trembled. Brace! Yusef shouted. The shockwaves slammed into their shields, throwing half the crew against walls. Consoles sparked. Smoke filled the air. Lyra steadied herself, her tone unbroken. Return fire. All guns! The Resolute answered with fury, twin rail cannons igniting in blinding arcs. The first projectile struck the dreadnought's flank, rupturing armor. The second tore through its midsection, sending molten debris into space. For the first time, the coalition wavered. Hrothgar appeared on every frequency, voice thick with rage. You defy the galaxy itself. You are animals pretending to be civilized. Lyra stared into the projection. No, Hrothgar. We were civilized. You mistook that for weakness. He bared jagged teeth. You cannot win. Winning was never the point. She cut the channel. The battle turned into a storm. Hours passed, ships shattered, debris fields growing dense enough to block stars. Lyra's fleet held, but barely. Power drained faster than reinforcements arrived. Dr. Kaelin approached, voice low. Admiral, we're at 40% capacity. The orbital cannons won't last another wave. Lyra didn't answer. Her gaze fixed on the data stream scrolling across her display, the sole protocol encryption key, pulsing like a heartbeat. Rin noticed. You intend to activate it. Kaelin stepped forward sharply. No! You promise. I promise to use it only when survival demanded it, she said. We've reached that point. Kaelin shook his head. If you unleash it, we won't just destroy the enemy. The gravitational distortions will tear half the system apart. I know. The bridge went silent. Finally, Yusef spoke, voice tight. Orders, Admiral? She stared at Earth, glowing softly below. So small. So fragile. Begin activation sequence. Stage 1 only. Target field perimeter. Confirmed. A deep vibration rolled through the ship. Across the system, hidden satellites ignited, releasing invisible ripples that twisted space itself. Light bent, engines sputtered, and alien ships began vanishing without trace, erased, not destroyed. The coalition fleets panicked. Command collapsed. Hrothgar's voice returned, distorted and furious. What have you done? Lyra's eyes burned with quiet fire. I've given you a glimpse of the end. You're monsters, he hissed. No, she said softly. We're courteous monsters. The dreadnought lunged forward, desperate to ram. Lyra raised a hand. Stage 2. A white sphere expanded from the Sol beacon, consuming everything within 100 kilometers. When the light faded, nothing remained but silence and drifting ash. Then quiet. The surviving alien ships scattered, fleeing into the dark. The battle was over. Rin reported, voice almost reverent. Enemy withdrawal confirmed. System secure. Kaelin exhaled shakily, hands trembling. You stopped the annihilation. No, Lyra said. I delayed it. He looked at her, confusion mixed with awe. You could have ended them all. Why stop now? She turned toward him, her expression weary but resolute. Because extinction isn't victory. It's surrender by another name. Yusef approached. Admiral, the galaxy will never forget this day. They're not supposed to. She gestured to Rin. Prepare a system-wide broadcast. All frequencies. Moments later, Her image replaced every transmission across the stars, her face lit by the cold light of Earthrise. This is Admiral Lyra Halden of the Terran Defense Accord. The Sol system remains sovereign. We will not attack unless attacked. You have witnessed our restraint. You have seen what we keep buried. Test us again, and you will learn what extinction truly means. The feed ended. No one responded. Entire sectors went silent. Even the Concorde's war channels fell still. Hours later, Lyra stood in the observation chamber. The Earth rotated beneath her, clouds curling like smoke over oceans that gleamed like mirrors. The world was alive. Barely. Yusef joined her quietly. The Council's requesting your statement for the archives. Tell them it's over, she said. And if it isn't? Then they already know the words. Kalen approached next, fatigue etched into his face. The Sol Protocol? Locked again, she replied. Buried deeper than before. Someone will try to unearth it one day. Lyra smiled faintly. Let them. Maybe then they'll remember why it was made. Rin's hologram shimmered into view. Admiral, long-range scans show total enemy retreat. The galaxy is in chaos. Good, she said. Fear keeps them honest. He studied her a moment longer. You could have become what they feared most. You didn't. I almost did, she admitted. That's enough. The AI tilted his head. What will humanity do now? She looked at the distant horizon. We rebuild. We watch. And we remember that being courteous doesn't mean being harmless.